Mr. Garrido, or excuse me, Lieutenant Garrido, I have a friend who's a retired prosecutor, so I reached out to him in anticipation of today's meeting. I asked him what standards should apply to prosecutors, and he says as about national standards, there aren't many, but that's because each local community is supposed to elect folks who will protect them. And so rather than have a national standard, that's the approach he mentioned. That said, he goes on to say, the people of Chicago have no less interest in being safe from random shootings, gang violence, and rampant drug dealing than any other part of America. And then he says this: what is particularly risible about Kim Foxx is that she's looked primarily to the criminal defense attorneys and advocates for criminals known as the woke community, or known in the woke community as the criminal justice affected community, not victim groups, not police or law enforcement organizations. For example, Fox, as well as approximately 3 dozen Soros DAs out of the 2,500 elected DAs in the United States, do not participate in the National DA Association, by far the largest prosecutor organization, which has been around since 1950. And that organization, to which they don't apparently belong, has avoided taking partisan political positions. She and other Soros DAs have coalesced around a much smaller group called the Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, which has few members nationwide, and unlike the NDAA, has taken very partisan political positions. My question to you is, after all that, is it true that they're taking political positions as opposed to those which are going to help more adequately control crime?
Absolutely.
Please explain them.
Absolutely. Just like I said before about her changing the threshold for felony theft from 500 to 1,000, she has a lot of leeway to decide what they're going to charge and what they're not going to charge. Or when we present homicide cases or any case for felony approval, they put a lot of restrictions and to just create these long lists of things that we have to do, to try to hoops that we have to jump through, and they make it difficult. If I could, a sentence from a letter that one of the state's attorneys, a top-ranking state's attorney, left. He said, the state's attorney voiced her concern with a headline and the heat she was getting over her backers, and never voiced any concern over the fact that this woman was shot and killed simply for walking to the store, and nobody's going to face a murder charge. That is what is wrong with this administration. This administration is more concerned with political narratives and agendas than with victims and prosecuting violent crime. This is why I can't stay any longer. This is one of several public letters that were put out by state's attorneys as they're leaving. It's 100% based on political ideology and not seeking justice for victims in Chicago.
Thank you so much. My time's up. I yield back.
Thank the